you ever feel like social situations absolutely drain your energy? Or maybe you even avoid some of those social events because the thought of even going to them, of such interactions, is just so overwhelming that you can't stand it. Maybe you do go, but you feel stuck in your head the whole entire time rather than being able to enjoy and connect with others. So, we're here to talk about social anxiety for this week's Mindful Monday. So if it's your first time joining us, feel free to type in the comments where you're coming from if you have any questions or comments, of course. You can also type any topics that you'd like to hear covered in the future. We always love hearing what you'd like to hear more about. Now, if it is your first time joining and you type the word mindful after the broadcast, I'll come back and put in a link, which if you follow, you'll get two free gifts. The first one being the weekly PDF cheat sheets, which are basically bullet points of what we cover each week. And the second one is a free hypnotic recording I've created on releasing limiting beliefs. All right. So, first, let's talk about what is social anxiety. So, it is a fear of situations in which you might be judged negatively. It can be worry about embarrassing or humiliating yourself in public. It can be an intense fear of interacting or talking with strangers. It can be a fear of the physical symptoms that may cause you embarrassment when you do get nervous, such as that blushing or sweating or trembling of the hands or having a shaky voice. It can be avoidance of situations where you might be the center of attention. It can be an anxiety in anticipation of a feared activity or event. It can be intense fear or anxiety during social events. And it can be an analysis of your performance and identification of your flaws in your interactions about what happened after the social event. It can also be an expectation of the worst possible consequences from a negative experience during a social event. So it's that embarrassment once again. It can be an intense, persistent fear of being watched and judged by others. It can be a fear that others will embarrass, judge, or reject you. It can be a dread of being humiliated in public, and so much more. But you get the basic gist of it all. So some of the most common symptoms include blushing, a fast heartbeat, trembling, sweating, upset stomach or nausea, the butterflies, trouble catching your breath. You can feel breathless. You can actually feel dizzy, lightheaded, like you're going to pass out. You can feel that your mind has gone blank, particularly if you have to do public speaking. That's a common one, right? So what can we do? And there's many more, of course, too. It can actually feel like you're having, almost like a panic attack or something, too. So what can we do? So number one, let's say if this is extremely hindering your daily life, if you're avoiding things, if you're not sure what's going on, please consult a doctor or a therapist. We want to make sure you're not having another issue kind of thing. So first and foremost, make sure that it is just a social anxiety kind of thing. If it's severe enough, then talk to a therapist or a doctor about that. Number two is note your triggers. You want to pinpoint why and when you feel the most discomfort. And so, is it the job interview? Is it speaking with an authority figure at work? Is it introducing yourself to someone that you are attracted to, or all of the above, or something else entirely? Because knowing your triggers can really help you too. Number three is note the symptoms that you experience when social anxiety does strike so that you can realize what is happening and best work with them. Hair in my mouth here. All right, so that means if you're experiencing that sweating, that rapid heartbeat, you want to know that, okay, this is what's happening, kind of thing. Number four is note the things that you most worry about happening, right? So do you worry that you might accidentally say something rude or call someone the wrong name? Or do you worry that you'll trip and fall or spill something on yourself? Do you worry that you'll laugh or cough or sneeze at the wrong time or even get sick? Some people actually fear that they're going to kind of vomit in public, and it freaks them out. So note what you're worried about too, because that can be useful. Number five is use realistic thinking for all of the above. You can ask yourself, how many times have I managed to not say embarrassing things around others in the past? Or ask yourself, what is the worst that could actually happen? You can consider times that you have witnessed another person say or do something silly or awkward in public, because we all do it, right? I mean, it's part of human life. And consider how you responded, or ask yourself, what you would tell a good friend who had the same concerns you do. All right. And number six is to take small steps because we know that experiential avoidance, that's avoiding situations that makes us uncomfortable. It feels really, really good. It feels like such a relief at first. But what happens is we actually get more anxiety from it. So when we avoid things, we had the initial anxiety, and now we're even associating more anxiety onto that. So if you're avoiding these things, then you're going to get more anxiety. So you want to take small steps, and it does feel, like I said, good to initially avoid those things, but know that that's just reinforcing those anxious feelings or fears, whatever you want to call them, and it's going to make it worse in the long run. So work towards not doing that. Take small steps and push yourself just a little bit. You can start by having a conversation at a checkout line rather than going through self checkout if you're afraid of talking to strangers. Um, you can have a close friend role play scenarios with you. You can join small groups like Meetup to get acclimated to, speaking and being around others too, because everything that we practice gets easier, of course. So joining groups can be a great way to do that. Um, Oh, yes. Public speaking. So sooner or later, we all have something that we have to do publicly, particularly public speaking. It might be something as inane as a little toast at a wedding, or you might have to do a presentation at work, or you might have a speech to do. So it is a common fear. It's one of the most common fears that most Americans do have, at least. But if you start doing it and just do it a little bit, you can join a group like Toastmasters to make it easier for you too. Now, instead of focusing on the thoughts in your head when you are in a social situation, you also want to shift your focus, shift your attention out to others, and notice what they are wearing or compliment them. You can note their eye color, etc., etc. If you're there to do a speech, you can focus on what they will be benefiting on. Number eight is to regularly practice calming breathing. So I like to teach all my clients to set a reminder around every 2, 3 waking hours to take 3 deep breaths. Doesn't matter, nobody has to know you're doing this. And on the exhale, you can think or say relax now to yourself. So you're constantly down regulating yourself. It's a lovely reminder. It's a great mindfulness practice too. Number nine is challenge negative thought patterns by asking yourself, is this always true or is this based on facts? So that's if you're thinking like, I'm going to make a fool out of myself, I always make a fool out of myself, then you would say something like, is that always true? Do I really always make a fool out of myself? Number 10 is you can utilize visualization or mental rehearsal techniques, which is an NLP technique, before an event by envisioning it going amazing. This is particularly potent if you do it right before you go to sleep because your subconscious mind never sleeps. So I love that. We use this a lot with athletes, public speakers, etc. It's great. Number 11 is to celebrate every small win and anchor in the positives. All right. And you can create a calming hand anchor as well and a phrase to go with it to utilize if you're right before you would go out into a public speaking. But you want to anchor in all the positive things you do too. Number 12 is other mindfulness practices that can help to ground you in the present moment. There are so many, so you can choose from a plethora of them. We talked about those, I believe, last week. Number 13, utilize self hypnosis or have a hypnotherapist make a customized hypnotic programming recording special for you and your needs and what you want. And number 14 is consider subsequent hypnotherapy sessions using parts, regression, or breathwork to get to the root cause of any kind of social anxiety. So thanks so much for being here with us for our final summer. Well, summer goes on, but the final one in August, Mindful Monday. I hope it's been a great one and useful to you. And we'll see you next week. If it's in the US, I know it will be Labor Day, but we'll still be here and we hope to see you. Take care.